Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I'm Jody Grinwald. This week, I welcome my guest, Chrissy Buteas, Chief Government Affairs Officer for the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the NJBIA. Growing up, Chrissy had an affinity for sports and thought maybe that was going to be her future. However, she shifted gears from the sports arena to the political arena. All of her sports training has taught her firsthand how to be a team player, win, lose, and do it all again. Chrissy has worked in both the not-for-profit and for-profit sectors and is able to advocate for businesses in her role at the NJBIA with the knowledge of what it takes to be a leader in this state. We talk about women breaking barriers, and Chrissy is truly a barrier breaker as she won several awards, including the Barrier Breaker Award, as part of Jersey's Best Magazine's spring issue, honoring trailblazing women in the state. She was also named 2021 Woman of Distinction by the Girl Scouts of the Jersey Shore. During our interview, we touch on the importance of busy people taking better care of themselves and the importance of taking a break so we can come back to the work we all do with a renewed spirit and passion because we all deserve to. Please subscribe to the Today is the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Stream this podcast on all streaming sites. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. Also go to todayisthedayliveit.com for more information about the services available to individuals and businesses through Today is the Day. And check out applauderkids.org, the not-for-profit organization that I am the CEO and co-founder of that is making a difference in the lives of children with financial barriers who are looking for an ongoing creative connection through the performing arts. Have a great week, everyone. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. My name is Jody Grinwald, and as I say, each week I get to interview the most amazing and incredible people who are change makers doing amazing things in their corner of the world or in the greater part of the world. And today I have with me Chrissy Buteas. Hi, Chrissy.
Hi there, Jody. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to finally be able to have you on. And I'm going to read from your bio, and then we're going to get into a conversation, and we'll talk a little bit about the fact that we actually have worked together too in some other ways. So I'm super excited about that. So Chrissy Buteas is a Chief Government Affairs Officer of the NJBIA, New Jersey Business and Industry Association, the nation's largest state-level business association, whose member companies collectively employ over 1 million people. And I will share, Chrissy has some resume here. So I'm going to read a little bit here, but I'm not going to read everything, but there's a lot. Chrissy also serves as the executive director of the New Jobs PAC, the state's largest and most influential ideological business political action committee. That was a lot to say in one sentence there. Prior to joining the NJBIA, Chrissy served as the president and CEO of the Home Care and Hospice Association of New Jersey, representing New Jersey home health agencies, hospices, and healthcare service firms servicing the state's Medicare, Medicaid, and private pay patients. Chrissy is also the former president and current board member of the Women's Political Caucus of New Jersey, a statewide nonprofit dedicated to advancing women in government. And Chrissy serves as a member of the New Jersey Medical Assistance Advisory Council, New Jersey Small Employer Health Benefits Program, and the New Jersey Mandated Health Benefits Advisory Commission, which responds to requests from the state legislature to provide independent analysis of the medical, financial, and social impacts of proposed health insurance benefit mandates. She served on the Murphy-Oliver Transition 2018 healthcare team and currently serves as the Sergeant of Arms for the Democratic State Committee. She also serves on the board of Focus New Jersey, an independent research nonprofit conducting timely, innovative, nonpartisan economic and workforce research. She previously served as Vice President of the Capital Impact Group. And in 2021, Chrissy was named a Woman of Distinction by the Girl Scouts of the Jersey Shore, a barrier breaker as part of Jersey's Best Magazine's spring issue honoring trailblazing women in the state, and recognized on our ROI New Jersey's Influencers Power List for Government Affairs. And in 2018, Chrissy was named NJBIZ Best 50 Women in Business list, and was also named NJBIZ 40 Under 40 and Power 50 Healthcare list in 2017. Wow, I could have gone on, Chrissy. I always ask everybody when I read their bios, how does it feel to hear that back?
Oh, no, it's extremely humbling, and I give all the credit to everyone who's come before me and, broken down barriers and just tried to advise me along the way. So no, it's definitely humbling, but happy to serve, especially on my nonprofit boards. That's really what I enjoy, the most in everything. So especially like the Girl Scouts and serving on Middlesex College and stuff like that. That's really exciting for me.
I know, and like I said, I could have kept reading. So I love reading everybody's bios too, because I learn obviously a lot more about you, but also the fact is, it's like, you think about it, it's words on a page, but there's so much that goes into those words on a page. So kudos to you and congratulations for all of your hard work and all the accomplishments. Incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's go back a little bit, right? So
Sure.
there's things I definitely don't know about you too, and we've worked together, as I said. So tell me a little about where you grew up, and the type of kid you were, because obviously now you cannot be a super shy person because you were out and about, right, fighting all the time for things, for businesses, every single day. But growing up, where did you grow up, and what kind of a child?
Sure. Well, again, I'm so excited to be here and to share a little bit about my story. And again, thank you to you, Jody, for putting this together. This is absolutely tremendous. And thank you again to all the women and men who have helped me along the way, including, obviously my family and stuff who supported me to try to, push barriers and, get as much education and stuff as I could. So again, kudos to you, kudos to my family and to all those that came before me. Background. So really, I grew up in a suburb in Middlesex County, South Plainfield, New Jersey, and was very active in town growing up, mainly in sports. And so I was kind of shy, but I have to say that playing 3 sports all through high school and then having the privilege of playing field hockey at Rowan University was a tremendous opportunity for me to learn and to grow and to understand the value of teamwork, to make friends, and to push my limits and to learn how to lose, how to win, and how to get back up on the field every day. And so growing up in South Plainfield, like I said, pretty small town, about 25,000 people, active in softball, field hockey, basketball, other things that karate when I was growing up as well, I think really, taught me to have some self-confidence, which is, so challenging for young kids, both, boys and girls growing up. And again, I attribute a lot of it to my family's support and, getting on the field every day, whether it was one of those 3 sports or some others that I participated in growing up as well. So that's a little bit about me. And funny enough, you never went into the athletic career path, which is definitely something I was hoping to pursue at some point. It just didn't work out that way. But I love athletics and a huge proponent of anything to get young women and young men onto the field to learn those skill sets, and any other organization as well that really promotes that teamwork. I think it's just so critically important.
What was your aspiration, if you don't mind me asking? What were you hoping to do in the sports world?
Well, I would love to have played professionally or gone to the Olympics, but I wasn't good enough, clearly. So, but I'd love to have managed a sports team. Something like that. Again, not in the cards, but I do feel like, entering into the political arena is definitely a contact sport at times. So it certainly keeps me on my toes. And, I was a goalie in field hockey, so I had to be able to block and tackle pretty quickly.
Well, we're talking about learning how to win and how to lose. Right away, my mind went to you doing that every single day, right? Yeah. When you're out there, and you said political arena, you're talking the talk as if you are in sports anyway, right? So it's just you switched over on the subject matter, but you're still playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was important for women to be involved in government and politics as well. So I had the privilege of taking part in a program in college at the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers University called the New Leadership Program, which was a week-long seminar where we had the privilege of being introduced to a lot of women who were barrier breakers, and I had learned during that seminar that women were grossly underrepresented in government and politics, leading nonprofits, leading corporations, serving on boards and commissions. And so my interest was like, I can run for office. Like, if everyone else can, why can't I? And so I really did the groundwork, and again had some tremendous mentors along the way, and had the privilege of serving in South Plainfield as a councilwoman for a number of years. And so getting that education and that knowledge, I think, was really, really helpful. And that kind of like led to the trajectory that I'm on as well. So having the privilege of serving in office, which I would encourage anyone to do, throw your hat in the ring. You don't need to know everything. No one does. You're never fully prepared to do it. And then also working in the field as a career path kind of took off simultaneously. And again, I attribute that to a lot of my mentors and sponsors who are with me along the way to help and guide. So, but it was a tremendous opportunity.
I am all about mentorship. I don't care how old you are. I think it doesn't matter. I talk about that, I think, on every podcast, that you're never too old or too young to start to have a mentor. It's vitally important and can help you tremendously on your career path. And for some, second careers, right? Some are start one place and end in another, and that's perfectly great as well. So I'm just curious, what was your very first job out of college?
Going back to those athletic days, the sports authority.
Really? Oh,
which
wow.
I think is out of business right now. But I worked in team sports, so figure that one out. So I guess I got to work in the field for a little bit now that I think about it. So I got to sell like field hockey equipment and basketballs and softballs and stuff. So I worked there throughout college, I would say, high school and into college, and then went into various internships when I was at college at Rowan University, and took advantage of as many experiential learning opportunities as I could. And again, one of the best things that anyone who's in college can do right now is to try to find those experiential learning opportunities. It was so critical to get boots on the ground and learn how things are done and figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And I figured that out too by doing several of them.
Yeah. Was there an aha moment anytime that you can remember during that, those first several years?
I was intrigued by the amount of influence that staff and policymakers have on the overall economic climate or social issues of the day. I mean, these are decision makers, and so to be a part of that is really exciting. So me, my colleagues, our government affairs team at NJBIA, huge shout out to them, by the way. They are like the best. Love my team. Every day we're out advocating, and even in my previous capacities, that influences policy, which impacts people's lives. And I think that is something that we all try to keep in mind, and is really exciting and rewarding at the same time. Working with our elected officials, working with those in executive branches, the legislative branches, your local electeds, and decisions matter and impact people. And I especially saw that on the local level when I served for office too. You really get to see your decisions being implemented right in front of your eyes, because you're weighing in on even what roads get paved, what parks get built, and so you can legitimately see those things take place over the years. And that's really exciting as well. Very, very rewarding.
Yeah, I want to get back in a few minutes to the NJBIA work and also the importance that everybody has a voice, small or large business. And I think it's important to cover that. But before we get there, I just want to go back to you working for home care and hospice. And I know that you have this really big heart for nonprofits. So can you speak to a little bit about that as well?
I had the tremendous honor of serving as the president and CEO of the Home Care and Hospice Association, as you mentioned. So I represented the home care and hospice agencies throughout the state. And boy, do they do such great work. From caring for your most severely disabled children all the way up to the elderly, anyone who needs to have care in the home is so critically important. And, what the statistics have said is that people would like to recover, to pass away in their home. And so the members that I was working with and representing before the state government and the federal delegation in New Jersey were the ones who were providing that service day in and day out. So your home health aides, your nurses, your therapists were, again, boots on the ground, trying to take care of the state's most vulnerable populations. And again, children all the way up to the elderly. And so a lot of things to work on there, and, trying to chip away at some of the policies to make sure we had the workforce. Still a challenge to make sure we have the workforce. So especially now in light of, we're filming obviously still during COVID, and a huge shout out to all the healthcare professionals who continued to, go into facilities and into people's homes during this because they had to provide the healthcare service to our state's most vulnerable. So it was a real privilege. I was there for almost 5 years, and love them dearly.
Yeah. What would you say was the biggest learning you had while you were there?
The amount of, compassion and intricacy of providing, care. I think that was really exciting for me. My hat's off to them, and really, again, not being a healthcare professional myself, I got a lot of insight into the day-to-day workings of the folks I was representing, and that's hard work. So again, my hat's off to them.
No, that's awesome. And then going into, we're going to get into the NJBIA work, but I'm just curious too. I mean, being able to look at the work on the nonprofit side, and then you also see the for-profit side of the world. What advice do you have for nonprofits right now as they're seriously? I mean, we'll talk about the council and all of that as well, but just being able, you're able to put on two hats. And I think that nonprofits always are looking for what kind of advice they can get from others who are able to look at it with that kind of a scope.
I think it's going to be about collaboration and innovation moving forward. The old model may not work anymore. So I think finding those partnerships and really setting yourself apart from others based on what your value is and your deliverables and your outcomes is going to be critical. So we're seeing when nonprofits apply to different funding sources, funders want to see results. And I think if you don't have those metrics in place, or if you're not meeting those expectations, it will be challenging. So focusing on the value, focusing on how to adapt quickly will be really helpful as well. So the old way of doing things may not be the way to do them moving forward, and to try to diversify your funding sources will be important as well. So this, Jody. I mean, some nonprofits are, philanthropic in nature, relying on private donors. Others receive a lot of funding from corporations and or the government as well. And just being aware of how the budget constraints right now are, impacting people's ability to give. A lot of nonprofits are going to have to change, if they haven't already, on how to raise those funds, and at a time when it's so critical. So again, I have the privilege of sitting on several boards, and now more than ever, we need people into programs that get kids to interact with one another, to make sure people are going back to school so that they're upskilling and reskilling. And you're seeing declines in all those numbers right now, and that's troubling, because that means the kids are maybe not interacting as much as they should, or even young adults or adult learners who are looking to go back haven't been going back to school at this point as much as maybe some folks would expect. And so that's going to have to, I think, change, and something that I know what we're working on at NJBIA as well. It's just so critically important too. Also the mental health of our state, both children and adults. And this is an issue that's going to be confronted across the nation as well.
Yeah, and I have to mimic what you're saying because of being the CEO of Zach Plutter Kids Foundation. Everything you just said is exactly right. We would not still be here as an organization if we didn't collaborate during COVID. Mm-hmm. Also, if we didn't share our stories, tell our story better. And also, we've been hearing, starting to find other ways, like you said, revenue streams, fee for service, different ways to make things happen. But also the one thing you said, which is really key, is where are the kids in some cases, right? We've been talking to CEOs that have programs ready to go with funding and are having trouble finding the kids to put into the programming. So there's lots of things and new ways and things that we have to come up with in order to get the kids back and get the individuals back into those programs that are funded, because somehow, they've disappeared and fallen off. And community and bringing people together for mental health. reasons is so important. So, thank you for all of that, because all of that is exactly what we're doing. So great, fabulous points. So let's get into NJBIA. So we met because I worked for the NJBIA, as I was working on the nonprofit side, and now I'm the nonprofit consultant. And you have been on almost every single call. We started a not-for-profit council that we'll talk about, and that started way back in March of 2020. But let's talk about your role as the Chief Government Affairs Officer for the NJBIA, how long you've been there, and the scope of work that you do, which is so vital and critical.
Sure. I, again, have the privilege of serving as the Chief Government Affairs Officer at NJBIA. So we represent the state's business community that obviously includes our nonprofits as well. And every day, our team is out there fighting on behalf of the business community, making sure that their voices are heard. We always say in the lobbying world, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. And so it's really critical for different organizations to have that voice. And so my team, which again, I can't reiterate enough, is phenomenal, and really enjoy working with them. They do a great job. We are out there every day making sure that when policy is being considered within the state, that there's attention paid to the business community. And why is that important? Well, the business community keeps the economy moving forward, and we want to make sure that we're not in a recession. We want to make sure people have good paying jobs. We want to make sure that our Main Street businesses are able to remain open and thrive. We want to make sure there's a workforce, and without a strong economy, all of our residents will be impacted by that. And we all saw the implications of that back, in 2008 and what happened. So business plays a critical role in the overall health of, a population, of an economy. And so we go out and make sure when policy is being discussed and debated, that the business perspective is also brought forward as well. And what we have been trying to stress, especially during this critical time, is the balance, making sure that if you need to put on more restrictions, that you also let business operate and allow the economy to kind of get back on its feet at this point in time. As you know, Jody, having business shut down has a ripple effect. So, employees are then out of work. So then the government needs to come in and make sure that employees are able to live, right? That's a critical role of government. Then the funding sources go away from if a company is not operating, they may have to cut back. And then that may impact the nonprofit community who relies on those same corporate sponsors. And so there's a real impact, downstream impact, when the government shuts down an economy. And now our role has been making sure when policy is being debated, that we're at the table and saying, this is what we need to get us back up and running, and get our workforce back up and running, and make sure there's childcare, to your point, so that the kids can go out to different camps, they can go to school, they can start interacting as well. And there's just a lot of policy that obviously impacts the whole supply chain. And our role is making sure we're at the table for healthcare policy, economic development, workforce, environment, energy, labor, you name it, we're there.
I want to add something which I think is really crucial and vital, because I didn't know this when I started working at NJBIA, and I learned this, right? Every single business has a voice. And what happens is, I think for the smaller businesses and the nonprofits, they think that you're there so they don't have to say anything. And I learned from, over time, that no, every business needs to reach out to you to share what their needs are if their needs aren't being met. There were different groups put together to try to help those specific groups during COVID. You wanted to hear from them. You needed to understand what their needs were, so that you could go with that collective voice to the powers that be to say, this is what the needs are for this population, this group of businesses. So I found that it's really vital that the businesses in the community utilize the NJBIA as the resource for advocacy, not just sitting there saying, oh, they'll take care of it. No, and please tell me if I'm wrong on this. It's more along the lines of, no, reach out to the government affairs team over at the NJBIA, don't just sit idle. Make sure that we're doing what you need and make sure that your voice is heard. Tell me if I'm wrong in what I'm saying here.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, our responsibility is to represent folks so they can go do their day-to-day jobs. I mean, that is why we exist. You know, you're busy running your nonprofit, you're busy running your pizzeria, you're busy supplying essential products to the residents of New Jersey. What is helpful, though, from the business community is for them to not only reach out to us so we have that, on the ground knowledge of what is actually happening. How is this policy actually happening, your day-to-day operations? But it's also critically important for the business community to really lean into building relationships with their local elected officials, both from the municipal level on up to the executive branch of government. And why is that important? Well, just think of how we operate in our day-to-day lives. Relationships matter, and to have that trusted person reach out to you, I think is impactful for public policy making. So if I am a public policy maker and I'm frequenting a restaurant even COVID or, over the last 20 years, they're going to be familiar, we're going to have a relationship. And so if that business owner goes in and speaks with that policymaker about the impact, they're more likely to listen to them because it impacts their district, it impacts their constituents and workers, and they're more likely to connect the dots on how this policy is impacting this business, which impacts my residents that I was elected to represent. That needs to continue to happen. And I really implore the business community to reach out to their local elected officials. And if they don't have that relationship, to create that dialogue, even in good times, saying things are going well, or thanks for, passing this policy that really helped. But also when things are not going so well, to say, oh, this is going to really impact us. And here's how. And so again, I started this conversation with trying to achieve balance. And that's what I'm talking about. We're trying to move different legislation and policy that protects, workers. And we also want to make sure that businesses are able to thrive as well. And so you have to, strike that balance moving forward.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I know the NJBIA during COVID created, it was indoor recreational activities, dance and all those kinds of things. And you pulled together like a coalition. And that was vitally important at that point. And I think it's just important for those out there listening. Not everybody knows what the NJBIA does and who we are, and believe it or not, right? It's hard for us to believe because we know what we do. But I'd love for you to explain from your side and opinion, why should organizations of all sizes consider, when there's about, 1 million different membership organizations that you can join? You're a small organization. I asked Michelle when she was on this question. I'd love your side, your opinion on this. Why should businesses of any size decide to join the NJBIA?
So you have a voice. We are boots on the ground. We go out and represent you and the business community when, no matter what. And so we have the policy experts in-house. We have the research to back up everything that we're advocating for, and we are your voice. And the business community, nonprofit community, like I said, needs someone who is monitoring legislation and policy that's in the weeds that our business owners don't have time for. And that is what our team does, and they do it really well. And so I just implore everyone to join, because the stronger the organization is, the stronger our advocacy efforts are on behalf of you. So we do encourage people to make that investment, make the investment into the future of your business. Someone has to represent you. I can assure you that other interests are also represented. And so if you think that, someone else is just going to take care of it, you need the business community to also step up and make sure that their voice is heard. And that's the role of NJBIA, and the value of having that membership is that collective voice, bringing small business and large businesses together. Clearly there's networking opportunities and things of that nature as well, and collaboration, which is so critical. But when a policy gets passed, it will impact your daily life immediately. And that is really important to make sure that we have all the resources too that we need to make sure we're the best advocates on their behalf, which I am confident that we are.
Right. And then, as you mentioned, the networking is big for those who really need that. But also, I want to just bring up the councils, right? So there's the Women's Business Leaders Council, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Council, the Not-for-Profit Council, which I lead for the state. And I thank you for always being on, right? Somebody from your team coming on for, I can't count how many council meetings we had because they were weekly during COVID. And to be there, to be a resource to the nonprofit community, that's happening for the other councils as well. Anything you want to add about what the councils are like for those who are listening and your connection to them?
Sure. Relationship building and collaboration, as we started with earlier. So sharing best practices, trying to figure out what other people are doing. Are they sharing the same concerns that you are? So critical. These councils at BIA bring folks together to have those critical conversations about, how is your company diversifying your board and your workforce? What are they doing? What policies did you have to put in place? Women, again, I started off by saying women are underrepresented in almost every area. So in leadership, so sharing your experiences with other, women, what can women do to make sure that they are in decision level making positions moving forward? How can they do their jobs better? How do they achieve work-life balance? All of these things are obviously discussed so that you can be the best that you can be. So those are really critical, councils are really critical so that that interaction takes place. We also have various policy committees as well. So we really dive into the legislation and hear directly from our elected officials as well. And having them come to meet with the business community has really been important during COVID because we weren't able to go out and meet in person. So again, like we are today, meeting virtually, we did interact with our policymakers from day one constantly via Zooms, Teams, WebExes, text messages, phone calls, you name it. We were in contact with them, and also they were very receptive to open, and meeting with the business community as well. And we provided that resource and that connectivity when folks were at home.
Oh, yeah, I know you worked tirelessly. The entire team did. I don't know how much sleep you had gotten during the height of everything, but I give you guys so much credit because I know it was a 24/7 job. So kudos to all of you. And you do have a fabulous team. I that as well. I just wanted to touch on workforce issues in New Jersey.
Sure.
That this is a very, very hot topic. And, I have to say, I went to a restaurant the other day and I was surprised that they had the outside shut down on July 4th because they did not have the workforce to be able to run at a restaurant the outside tables, which I thought was really interesting. So can you give us an update on what's going on with that?
Sure. Probably number one issue right now across the nation and certainly here in New Jersey. Right now, so the economy is starting to open and we don't have the workforce to fill all the available jobs. We still have one of the highest unemployment rates, however, in the nation. So we're trying to figure out, what's impacting having a very high unemployment rate, but yet we also can't fill jobs. And so we're concerned about how policy, and again, it comes all back to policy, is impacting whether folks go back to work or not. And so we have been advocating before the legislature and the executive branch on our thoughts on how to get folks back to work because it's so critical. Again, focusing on the economy. People want to go out now. They want to have, dinner, and the seats are still limited because people aren't going back to work. And that's not just true in restaurants. We're seeing that, across the board in manufacturing as well. It's obviously impacting the supply chain. There are jobs available at this point in time, which is why NJBIA really worked very closely with our educational partners too, to advance workforce development funds in the state budget, which is critical because maybe the job that you had won't be there, but there is a different job. And so can we make sure we have the skill sets of that workforce ready, to go, which is so needed today. So workforce development is going to be critical moving forward, something we have certainly leaned into.
Yeah, no, thank you. I know it definitely is a hot topic. Going back to what you're talking about, women, and that's a really important topic. And the Women Business Leaders Forum's coming up for the NJBIA in September, late September. Again, that event, I was co-chair and then chair of that event years ago, and seeing it grow from like 150 people to like almost 600 people, it is incredible. So I do encourage everybody to go to njbia.org to check out the tickets are available, the speakers are available on there, and all of the council meetings are up there, and all the events are up there. So please go to njbia.org, as well as all of the information on advocacy and how to get more involved. But as women are trying to climb the ladder, unfortunately, sometimes some people are pulling us down and some people are pushing us up. What advice do you have for women right now who are starting in their careers, who are, they may be a little bit hesitant, they're a little nervous, they're not sure how to go about climbing the ladder? What advice would you give them as they're starting out?
Nobody has the answer. So lean into it and, take risks. I would say to young women, any opportunity they can to stretch outside their comfort zone probably is reassuring you that you're in the right space. If you're comfortable, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So try new experiences, especially when you're young. Try those experiential learning opportunities if you're still in college. And try to identify a mentor, a sponsor, not just somebody who can help guide you, but somebody who will speak up on your behalf and say, this person, I worked with her, she's the real deal. And to try to find those. And again, that's based on your work ethic, your grit, to put yourself out there and to work hard and to know your subject matters. I know we also focus on being very well-rounded, which I think is really important, but you need to know your craft. And so, read a lot. I would always advise people coming up to read as much as they can and to really learn the ins and outs of any operation that they're working in, not just the position you're trying to go for, but also what everyone else is doing. So you can piece it all together and appreciate where someone else is coming from, and then try to work in, your knowledge base to assist the organization as a whole as well. So again, learn your craft, take risks, read a lot, and certainly, find those sponsors who can speak up on your behalf. It won't happen overnight, but, try to join as many things as you can and get your name out there. So it's just like anything in life. I think you have to go outside your comfort zone a bit.
So where does your energy and zest come from to make a difference? Has that always been who you are? Or is there something that just continues to push you to want to do better and do more?
I really enjoy helping people. And so that, I think, is what, pushes me every day. And, nothing is ever easy. And so the challenge of trying to figure out what the solution is something I think I enjoy, whatever it is that I'm working on. So bringing people together, helping people, we all have one life to live. Life is short. And so I really enjoy, if I can, I had the privilege of, having these opportunities. So now I feel like if I can give back in any way, I need to do that. And so I've been really trying my best to make sure I'm there for, especially any young woman or man who wants any advice from me. I always try to make myself available to them and say, hey, here's what not to do. He's definitely done some of those things too. So, and again, I just encourage people to try to reach out. And so frequently, though, I'm surprised that I will get on, Zooms or, speak with people, and they don't follow up. And I say, I want to know how many of you are actually going to follow up with me. And I'm surprised that not a lot do at certain points. And I think that's, again, they're maybe nervous about, I don't know if they think it's a dumb question or not really sure. Well, that's what if people offer that, you should take them up on it. And, shame on them if they don't get back to you. But, I really do try. I'm sure I miss things, but I really do try to make myself available.
That's great. So it's like the pile of business cards we get when we go to networking events, right? And then they go on the desk or in the drawer, and then we never follow up. And I think it's time. It's always time, but it's worth that extra moment just to send off a quick email and keep that connection going. Because if you try to email somebody 3 years later, that connection is gone, and you don't feel that, feel it anymore.
Yeah. It's all about relationships and your word and integrity. It really is. I mean, I can come in my current job with the best of, policy and research behind me, but if people think that I'm not telling them the truth, then that's not going to carry much weight. And so I even say, when we're out advocating, I'm fine with telling people exactly what somebody who may have a differing opinion is going to say. That's just being upfront about it. No, nothing is really black and white. So I think it's just important to have a various voice heard. And that is one thing that I think is so critically important, is there are various perspectives into public policy, which is why having, a variety and diversified, workforce and board representation is also so critical, because you want to make sure that you're getting opinions from various people. So that's why I love what I do, because I get to do that every day, and bringing, a perspective forward, but also acknowledging that there may be, that happy medium somewhere where, someone else has a valid point, or maybe they don't, but to be able to articulate that, I think, is really important as well. Being able to understand both sides of an argument, or 15 sides of an argument.
I'm sure there's even more sometimes. But so the one thing I have to say is, as women who are go-getters, those of us, and I think you and I are similar in that way for sure. And we both like that dopamine hit of when we're able to help somebody and make a change and make a difference. Without a doubt, that fills my cup, and I hear you that it fills yours. But I know for myself, and I don't know if this is you too, is that sometimes we get so caught up in that, because we're so busy and we've got a lot on our plates. We don't necessarily put ourselves first in that balance. You were talking about balance, and of that, taking care of ourselves type of balance. What do you do for your downtime? Do you take downtime? I know that's hard because you're always so busy, but it's vital, because as women, I think we're, certain women are overachievers. We want to prove ourselves. We want to make a difference. And then we forget. We wake up one day and we're like, wow, I'm 40 or 50 or whatever the number is. And we're like, where'd all the time go? And I didn't get to enjoy all the things I really want to enjoy too, because I've paid so much attention to my career. So what do you do to balance that out?
Well, I think it is a struggle. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that was an easy thing for me. Again, I try to be as straightforward as possible. I enjoy what I do, though. So I'm looped into so many different things that I enjoy them. I think saying no, though, to things you don't want to do is also very important. So I have had to, say respectfully, thank you for that opportunity, but I'm not going to move forward with that, because I just don't have the time. I can't dedicate myself to it. The one thing I think is not stressed when folks are going through school, or, just entering the workforce, whatever the case may be, if you're a stay-at-home mom, is that self-care, though. I can't tell you how important working out and eating healthy is. And that impacts everything else, in my opinion, that we discussed here already. And I know people talk about it, but actually doing it are two different things. I try to actually work out and to eat as healthy as possible a majority of the time. I see the benefits of doing that. I don't always want to do that. But I do think it's important to be able to be your best every day, so that you can, sleep, have energy, and get up and do it again, and, the next morning. If you don't feel well, it's just going to translate into everything else that you do throughout the day. Your mood, your relationship with others, your ability to concentrate, and so stay healthy.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I think it's vital what you just said about working out and eating healthy. I think that when we get on, and I don't know if this has happened to you, when you're on the run and you're on the go, you're just kind of eating whatever, and exercise goes to the bottom of the pile. And especially before COVID, we were all going in a million different directions. And I know I wasn't doing it as much. Do you have, I'm just curious, do you have like your routine where you're like, I know Michelle, when Michelle was on, she's like 5 o'clock in the morning, she's out doing, are you the same type of?
I'm the same way. So I wake up around 4:30, 5 o'clock as well. And workout comes, before the first Zoom. I used to only work out at night, and now I'm like, I don't know how I used to do that. And then, because I hated working out in the mornings, now I've trained myself over the last few years it is the first thing. If you get sidetracked, it's not going to happen. So it's one of those things you just have to train your body and know that you're going to feel better. I rarely feel worse after a workout.
I know.
Other than when I'm sore.
Right. And you guys are encouraging me because I'm a night owl, and getting up at 4:30 just sounds like a total nightmare for me, but I want to be that person. So I appreciate hearing those things because you're encouraging me to want to do that.
Well, whatever works for you. It could be at night, but also if you're working out earlier, your day kind of does shift, because I was more probably staying up late because, again, a lot of meetings at night as well. Challenge is when you're burning the candle at both ends, gets a little tricky. So, and I think that's going to be something society is going to have to deal with, especially because we're so connected via technology. That will be something I'm concerned about, and can see it obviously impacting me too. It's 24/7 with all the technology.
Yeah. And you said something before that's really, really important that we all remember, and that is life is too short. So it is important to accomplish the things we want to accomplish, but also to have fun and laugh and smile and enjoy life as we're helping to change and make a difference. Because I love it. Our theme is balance, and balancing helping others as well as helping ourselves, I think is vitally important. So Chrissy, I want to thank you so much for being on. I ask everybody the same last question, and I learned from everybody's answer on this, and I think so do all of our those who listen. But if you knew then what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So, just make sure that you keep that in perspective. I would have encouraged myself to take even probably more risks, to read even more than I did. And, to really try to enjoy life as well, as you said, Jody. I think, because we do get sometimes very focused on, okay, I need to achieve X, Y, and Z by this time, to just kind of stop and just enjoy, your family, your company, going to the beach, sitting and reading a book and stuff. So probably a few things I would have told my younger self, if I had to do it over again. But I think we all have to learn and, try to develop, as we move forward. And so hopefully I've been able to implement at least a few of those things now that I'm a little bit older, but, definitely making sure that, it's important to take risks, and, if something doesn't happen right away, maybe do it again. People, again, win and lose all the time. I always go back to a sports team. Someone has to lose. So you're not going to make it every single time. But if you just keep showing up and putting in, hard work and surrounding yourself with great people, that is also something. I know some people don't feel comfortable having those who might be, brighter, more intelligent than them around them. I firmly believe in having a team that is incredibly bright and talented, working with me. I learned so much from them, and that's really exciting. And having the ability to let them do their job and to thrive is something that I get really excited about. So, don't be afraid to surround yourself with people who are smarter. I have no problems admitting, like, I don't know something. Because if I try to fake it, it's going to be really obvious.
Yeah, I think we've all been there before when we try to fake it. That's why I love the podcast. I mean, I have lots of smarter people than me on this podcast who are doing such incredible things. And I get to learn so much, selfishly too. I get to learn so much from all of these conversations. But the one thing I will say to what you said is that I didn't start really living more until my father passed away. It was like me. And I always, my lesson that I try to always share with people is don't wait until something tragic happens for you to wake up and say, oh, I better start living my life because life is so fragile. And so that's what's really, I love the message that you shared about, go to the beach. Like, it's okay. But yeah. I know we go to the beach with our phones, but at least we could hear the water and we can.
Yeah. And again, kudos to you, Jody, for, again, you're bringing folks on that have, tried to, transition during this really critical time. And, my hat's off to you as well, who's done, the same, running a nonprofit and, trying to help others, and to creating this podcast when it probably didn't exist. pre-COVID and saying, here's a service that I can provide and, taking that risk to do it. So I think you have basically just embraced everything that we just talked about today. So it's been a privilege working with you. And, I look forward to our continued relationship to try to tackle some of these critical issues. I know you're extremely passionate about what you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Listen, I love, like what you said, is working with people with amazing energy. That's why I always love having you on the nonprofit council calls, because you come on and everybody's listening, right? They're all there because you're in it. You could feel passion. And that's the one thing I will say, is that whatever you do, do it with such passion, because people, that's how they connect. If you're doing it and you really don't like it, people can tell. But when you're in it, oh my God, it can totally change the world.
Again, going back to athletics, I play to win.
Exactly. Yeah, I was never athletic, but now I realize I play to win too. So this is good. Maybe that's my athletic side. Well, Chrissy, I definitely want to have you back on again for another update on things that are going on.
Sure.
The world at NJBIA and the world in general just keeps changing. So thank you for being just an incredible person who's trying to make a difference here in the world. I so appreciate it. And I appreciate you being a part of Changemakers Summit that we're going to be putting on and hopefully in 2022. And I look forward to our continued working relationship and friendship. Thank you.
Same here, Jody. Thanks for having me today. And again, everyone, be safe out there. Don't hesitate to contact me. And I, again, appreciate the opportunity, Jody.
No problem. Thank you. And I'm going to say what I always say on the way out of these podcasts. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what steps, small or large, are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goal? Thanks again to Chrissy Buteas for being a fabulous guest. I love working with you. And I look forward to seeing everybody next week. Have a great week, everyone.